Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you again. If you've not already done so, please do hit that subscribe button. It helps me so much, as I always say. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying my content. A big shout out to all of my members as well. If you're watching this video, members, there is a new members only video which has just gone live today as well. Let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, so what are we going to talk about on this video? You can see I'm sat in the chair, so whenever I'm sat in the chair, it's usually going to be a completely talky video. So if you're here for demos, you're not going to get that today. So I want to talk to you about a very serious subject. Many of you will know from knowing me and watching previous videos that I am very open and honest about my journey with mental health and anxiety and how it affects me. And I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on where I am with that, because in the last few weeks I've not been myself. I've felt quite low, some difficulties with my mood and depression, feeling quite low. But nothing that has stopped me from functioning, nothing that has got me to a state where I can't do what I need to do. But if I'm not busy, if I'm not engaged in doing something, if I have the time to sit and think, if I don't have a device in my hand or a job to do, then I suddenly am feeling quite sad. And it's not a nice feeling. It really isn't. And I've been going to bed on an evening, and before I go to bed on an evening, I should say, because of the way I've been feeling, I've been turning to some comfort mechanisms that are not the best for me. I've been turning to snacking, which is a big problem for me, always has been. I've always liked snack and junky type food, chocolate. If I can get my hands on chocolate, I can gorge on the stuff, I really can. Crisps, anything snacky, if I can get my hands on it in the house. My wife goes to bed before me quite often, and I should do myself a favor and I should go up with her at the same time. But I don't. I stay downstairs because I feel like with the busy life that I have, the nature of my job being very, very busy, I love my job so much. I'm so happy with it. The nature of my hobbies and interests, which is my life in the wider Microsoft and MVP community and doing things like this. I love this so much. Everything I've got, I love. So you might be thinking, what's the problem? And this is what a lot of people, I think, don't understand about mental health sometimes, is that you can be happy. There's a line I really like in a movie from Steve Martin, which is called LA Story. And in the line, he says to himself, I had no idea that I was so unhappy because I was so happy all the time. And I can relate to that. That makes so much sense to me. The day-to-day minutia and the busyness that keeps you going leaves you feeling wanting sometimes in other aspects of who you are as a person. And but I've digressed here quite a bit, and I said I should have gone to bed at a sensible time, but I like to stay up and sit and have a bit of time to myself, because what is left of the day when my wife goes to bed around 10:30, I like to have that time for just me, because everything else that I do during the day is not just for me. It's for work, it's for community, it's for family, for taking care of my sons and my wife, and that is the only time of the day that I have really completely to myself. I don't think having COVID lately helped, because I had COVID quite badly. I had COVID for the first time, and it made me very tired, very fatigued, and had me stopping doing some of the things that were good for me, like exercising and getting out for walks and that sort of thing. So when I'm in that position of sitting up for an hour and a half after my wife has gone to bed at night, I can quite easily go into one of those binges. I can go and sneak into the kitchen and look in the cupboards and the fridges and see what chocolate there is. And believe me, if imagine a lot of chocolate, and I can probably eat 2 or 3 times the amount of that if I put my mind to it. It's not good. It's really not good. So the other thing is drink. And I'm not a massive drinker. In fact, I can go days, weeks without having a drink. But if I'm feeling low, it is something that I can start to lean on, and I can drink quite quickly. Whiskey is my drink of choice, and I tend to try and not have bottles in the house unless it's a really special occasion now, because I know if it's there, I will go to it. And on a night, especially if I've had a stressful day with everything that I have to deal with, I will lean on that as a crutch. It will just settle me down. And before you know it, I'll always pour a double, and then I'll think, oh, just one more. You know how it is, and I'll go back to it, and I'm fine with it. I can handle my drink, as the saying goes, but it's not good for you. And I'm not good at moderation. I'm an either or person. I can give up drink or snacks, if you like. I can give those up for days, weeks, months, and I'll be on it. But then if I go the opposite direction, I can start leaning on those things too much. And you think that these things are lifting you up, and they do. They make me feel better there in the moment. But then the next day, when you're tired, when the effect of that is the effect of the drink on your head and your state of being awake and whatnot, and the effect of snacks on this at the age of 51, I've got to try and take care of that, and I can usually tell when I've taken the excesses too far, because that's when I start getting out of breath going up the stairs. And I'm not at that point yet, actually. I was at that point earlier this year at one point, but I've not reached that point just yet. But I guess the point of making this video is, if I'm feeling like this, I always like to share, because I know that so many of you out there will also be feeling something similar. And I think it's so important to share. And I think we can sometimes be too afraid of the consequences of sharing or oversharing, especially in relation to our jobs, our work lives, our careers. I think a lot of us are quite lucky these days. I include myself in that, and that I work for an employer that is absolutely switched on and has all the right initiatives and attitudes towards well-being and mental health. I'm going to give them a mention. I'm going to call out Insight, my wonderful employer. I love you guys. I love the company. You take great care of me and everyone. So, and I've worked for a number of employers over the past few years that they've been the same. So I've been very lucky in that regard. Not everybody has that, but I just want to encourage people to realize that you're not alone if you're feeling this way, and tell you a little bit about what I'm doing to try and move forward from this, because this happens occasionally, and I know that I'll get through it. I know that it'll happen again at some point, and I'll take steps to deal with it. So for me, what do? One of the things that I've become very good at over the years, since I've been on this journey of depression, anxiety, get a bit better, then repeat, that sort of cycle, because it is cyclical, if that's a word, is I've come to know my triggers. I've come to recognize when I'm starting to slide into these patterns, and I know what I need to do about them. I don't always like what I have to do about them. What I'm doing right now is one of those things. Talking really is the best medicine. You cannot underestimate the power of just talking to someone. If you have a friend or a colleague that you trust and know will be open to this, then just lean on them. Just say, hey, you got 5 or 10 minutes to talk about. And this is what I did. I did this last week. I reached out to one of our mental health first aiders at Insight. I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning her name, Jade. Jade is absolutely wonderful, and she just chatted to me for half an hour and helped me to reinforce some positive steps that I could take to feel better. So talking is brilliant. It really does make you feel better. The other thing is, this is the one I hate the most, try and eat well. I love food so much, especially snacks, and going towards the wrong kind of foods is very easy for me, and it's hard to gravitate towards more healthier choices. I really wish the nicer things that I love were better for you. Life is really cruel sometimes, isn't it? Why can't chocolate be good for you and make you thinner? So I've got to try and do that, and I've also got to try and get out a bit more. You don't necessarily have to go hell for leather and go onto a mad exercise regime and start running or weightlifting or whatever else, or going at it at the gym. For me, it's about getting out and having a walk sometimes, just having a good walk. And I'm so lucky that I live on a street which is, at the end of the street, if you turn left, you're on a busy main road. If you turn right, you're in farmland. So it's wonderful. It's a lovely country lane that I can walk up and get into nature, which is beautiful. So especially if the weather is nice. I think, and that's a nice segue into this time of year, and seasonal affective disorder. I don't think we can underestimate how that affects people's moods and state of being. I really don't, because it's not unusual for me to notice a little bit of a decline in my mood at this time of year, when the clocks have just gone back this weekend in the UK. The darker nights are starting to settle in. The weather is not so nice. And quite often I will notice that towards the end of a year, my mood starts to drop a bit. In the last week or so, I've noticed it more than I perceive that I normally do. Maybe it's just because you look back. When you look back at time and memories, you tend to remember the good stuff. So maybe I have felt this bad before, but it doesn't feel like that right now. But you do tend to blank out some of the worst stuff and remember the good. Well, I do anyway. I don't know about you. But I think that can have a big impact on it. And not much we can do about the changing seasons, but recognizing that and talking about it and trying to make the most of the daylight hours that you have, or maybe getting, I know you can get these indoor, more natural light bulbs now, which I've got one in my office here, and a little desk lamp which has that, because I don't like unnatural overhead lighting very much. I tend not to put the lights on in this office ever. I'll put when my son comes in here, my youngest son Oliver, he'll always put the big lights on because he likes them, but I like the more natural sort of desk lamp that I have. So everyone's triggers are going to be different though. Everyone's life is going to have challenges. And I recognize this. I think to myself, sometimes you can feel very alone. You can feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're all alone. And what can you do to dig yourself out of this pit? And it's a very dangerous place to be, because I've got very good at masking how I'm feeling. I'm putting on a smiling, happy face right now in talking to you. I'm representing myself as I feel I should, there's that word should, present myself to the world in a professional manner that represents who I want to project to my community, family and friends and people out there in the world, and my employer, because I'm representing them as well. But I think we've come a long way in terms of sharing these sort of feelings and vulnerabilities, and it's okay to not be okay. There's plenty going on in the world right now to ponder, to make you think, wow, what is there to be positive about? You've only got to look at the news, and I'm not going to get into that because the news is full of horrible stuff. And ever since the pandemic a few years ago, which really for me was the start of a downward spiral in the state of news in the world, I stopped watching news. I'm the opposite of my wife. She's a complete news hound, so I don't get away from it because she tells me stuff. I woke up yesterday morning and the first thing she said, "Did you see that Matthew Perry has died?" Matthew Perry from Friends, what a legend. May he rest in peace. And such a sad piece of news. And the news all seems to be sad at the moment, but There's plenty of good news out there if you look for it. But then you start to feel guilty. Why do I have the right to enjoy myself when this is going on in the world and people are suffering? And it's a really hard one to rationalize. It really is. And then you start to, it gets worse. You start to think, why do I have the right to feel bad about my life and my challenges when all that's happening out there? It's nothing compared. I've got a little bit of depression. I shouldn't have said that, because that's, what's the word I'm looking for? That is underrepresenting it or devaluing it, I don't know. But generations before mine would quite... I remember my mother, for example, and she's long departed now. She died about 11 years ago. And it would be interesting to see if her mindset had changed if she had not passed away, because she never got to see this side of me. She never got to see me have my breakdown and change into the different person that I became after that breakdown. And prior to that, she would, quite often, it would be not uncommon for her to talk about people who had depression and talk about it in a way that was, well, that's for weak people, that's not real, that's... and I don't blame her for that. I don't judge her for that, because that was the way she was probably brought up by her parents, to see that as a weakness. And I think the more we've progressed generationally, the more awareness that and understanding that has become on these subjects, and we've had light bulbs above our head and said, actually, no, that's not the way we should be thinking about it. So I don't judge my mother for that. It's difficult, isn't it? It's very, very difficult. So what I would say to you is, if you're feeling in any way like this right now, or you have done, and you know you will again, you're not alone. I hope you know you're not alone. I hope you found your tribe, your communities, your source of support. And it's okay to feel that way. It really is. And hopefully it will pass. And you should take steps to try and help yourself by getting the help of others, whether that is counseling, whether that is looking at medication. Find what works for you, because we're all different, we're all special, we're all unique, we're all important. We've all got a part to play in this journey on this ball spinning around the sun in a vast cosmos. Why the hell we're here, who knows? Maybe we'll find out one day, maybe we won't. But while we're here, I think we've got to try and do the best we can, help ourselves, and help ourselves to help each other. And there's a really great analogy that I always like to use when talking about this, which is when you're on a plane and they're doing the safety demo at the start and they're doing the oxygen mask bit, they always say, put your own mask on before helping others. Some of us are not very good at that. I'm one of those people. I would probably try and help others before helping myself. But you've got to try and think more in those terms, because if you can't help yourself, if you're not fit to help others, then what good are you going to be? Help yourself first. Put yourself in that position. And if something is not right in your life, start taking the steps, if you can, to address that. Maybe you're in the wrong job, the wrong company. Maybe something's not right in your life and you need to make a difficult choice to eliminate some toxic influences in your life. It's a fine balance. I really think there's a fine balance. And it's going to be different for everyone. You've got to find what works for you. That's the important part of it. That's the key to it. But massively important at this, seek help if you're feeling down. If you're feeling like you're very depressed, if you're feeling in any way like how do you go on, then do seek help. Reach out to friends, reach out to me. I will always talk to anyone about this. And at the very least, I will guide you to help that you can get, proper professional, because I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a trained medical psychiatric professional. I've learned a lot about this sort of thing over the years, but I'm not qualified. So there is help out there if you need it. I'm going to avail myself of that help myself again. I'm going to trigger a few top-up counselling sessions, which I feel I need to get me through this. So don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. And I will put some links below the description of this video to resources that you can go to for mental health that are certainly relevant to the UK where I live. Hopefully I can point you to some broader options as well. I'll see what I can include down there, but do look around. It's help is only a click away these days. It's very, very easy. And what I always say, we've all had low moments. This is a hard subject to talk about, and I'm gonna finish by talking about it. We do know that people can feel suicidal at times, and it's almost a taboo subject. You can probably sense my reluctance to go down that road, but it's important to put that on the table. I don't think in myself I've ever felt that way, that I could go to that extreme of taking my life, but I have had, the way I will describe it is I've had many an occasion, including recently, where I've thought to myself as I retire, turn in for the evening, that I wouldn't be bothered if I didn't wake up tomorrow. That's the best way I can put it. And that's bad enough. And if you feel that way, then what I will say is I've felt that way a number of times in my life, that I just wouldn't care if tomorrow came. But when tomorrow did come, many of those days have been some of the best days I've had. So imagine if you hadn't been here. And for all we know, whatever you believe this is or what comes next, if anything, scientifically, proof-wise, evidentially wise, until we find out otherwise, we're only here once. And it's short. And we have to make the most of our experiences, because once that's the decision that you've made, there's no coming back from it. And tomorrow might be a better day. It might be a really great day. But again, I can only strongly say, if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling suicidal, if you're feeling depressed and down, like you can't go on, please reach out. Please seek help, professional help, right away. In the UK, call the Samaritans. Call the mental health charities. Mind is one that comes to mind, no pun intended. Not a time to joke, but there is a lot of help out there, and you matter. People care about you, whether you feel that they do or not. It can feel sometimes like you're on your own, like nobody can, does, or will understand what you're going through, but there is always somebody there who does, can, will, and will listen. So please make that call, as I'm going to do, and share your story. Let's break these barriers about talking about these perceived taboo, perceived embarrassing subjects that many feel they still can't talk about, without ridicule, without consequence, and have those conversations. I think that's all I can say on the matter, and I welcome all of your feedback on this video. I'll always talk to anyone about this, because I think it's so important, and I hope it's hit the right note. I hope not that you've enjoyed it, it's the wrong way, that it's had an impact, that it's hit the right note and made you think about things, and if it has, then that's great. Okay, you take care of yourself. You're important, you matter, and there's always another day, and there's always somebody who will listen. So we'll end it there. Take care. Bye-bye.